Alright, welcome back everyone. So today we have revisiting all 10 wins from the Sixers 2015-16 season. Damn. Trust the process, isn't that what Embiid said at that time? I don't know. Let's go ahead and look at this. Alright. Hope you guys are doing fine.
I think we can all agree that the worst place an NBA team can live is in the middle, stuck in that mediocre gray area. Not good enough to seriously chase a championship, but not bad enough to land a top draft pick either. And that's exactly where the Philadelphia 76ers were when Sam Hinkie stepped in as general manager in May of 2013. And he wasn't having it. Hinkie introduced a radical rebuilding strategy built on intentionally losing, stockpiling losses in exchange for high draft picks.
Tanking. Building through the draft.
Purposely
all with
losing.
the long-term hope of eventually rising from the bottom as true title contenders, a plan that would famously be dubbed the process. And while you could argue that it ultimately delivered two franchise cornerstones to build around, it produced one of the worst seasons in NBA history first.
I mean, it didn't really turn it. It didn't really turn into something good. With Ben Simmons or Embiid. It's like, yeah, this dude was an MVP. He was playing at an MVP level for like 4 or 5 seasons straight, but they still never got past the second round, with him. So whatever, man.
Hinkie's first moves included trading away the team's best players, and then purposely built a roster that was designed to lose. And all that losing directly led to the 76ers drafting Joel Embiid 3rd overall in 2014, but unfortunately had to miss his first 2 seasons because of injuries, which I'm sure Sam Hinkie didn't mind, as all it did was prolong their rebuild. While Embiid was recovering, Philly won just 10 of 82 games in the 2015-16 season. Let's find out who those 10 wins came against. As we all know, that was the same season that the Golden State Warriors won their first 24 games. The Sixers opened that season with a streak of their own, just not one that they're proud of. They began the season with 18 straight losses, tying the record for the worst start in NBA history with the 2009-10 New Jersey Nets, who also opened 0-18. Technically, the Sixers lost 28 games in a row, if you were to count how their previous season ended, breaking the record for the longest losing streak in American professional sports history. December 1st was Kobe Bryant's final game in his hometown Philadelphia, and felt the love as soon as he entered the arena. Bryant hit 3 of his first 4 shots, scoring 9 points in the first 75 seconds. He tried to deliver a special performance in his Philly finale.
Kobe's last year, last time, in Philly, his hometown.
Which would have been the best time to try and do it, against a team who hadn't won a game all season. The Lakers led by 8 going into the half, but a third quarter scuffle seemed to wake up the Sixers. From that moment on, the Sixers stepped on the throttle. They would outscore the Lakers 53-33 in the second half, as Philly earned their first win of the year, ending the longest losing streak in pro sports history.
That's crazy, bro. The Lakers also weren't that good, the Lakers were trash that year. They had like 17 wins. That was Kobe's last year, so who really cares, but whatever.
Well as spoiling Kobe's first game since announcing his retirement.
The intro, and then at the end of the game.
Oh yeah, that was his first game after announcing, he would be retiring, right?
Yeah, my high school coach being there, and Dr. J being there, I couldn't ask for anything better, other than winning the game.
It must have felt great for the Sixers to finally get their first victory. I hope they savored it, because they would go on another pretty bad losing streak, dropping 12 straight. Heading into this matchup against the Phoenix Suns on December 26th, the Sixers had a record of 1-30, but it was Phoenix who could not buy a basket in the first quarter, shooting less than 24% in that opening period. And to make matters worse, their leading scorer, Eric Bledsoe, got hurt in the second quarter and had to be helped off the court. But the Suns would not quit. They inched their way back into the game, and even taking the lead at one point, but Philadelphia was able to hang on, largely thanks to Nick Stauskas, who gave the Sixers a push, scoring 17 off the bench, as the Suns became Philadelphia's second win of the season, something PJ Tucker was kind of ashamed of.
Is it embarrassing at all to lose to that team since they only won once?
Yeah, it is.
Point blank period.
The Sixers would only go on to lose one game before capturing their next win. Entering this game against the Kings on December 30th, the Sixers were last in the NBA in scoring, but came up with one of their best offensive nights of the season. They shot 42% from the floor, making 9 threes. Philadelphia led by as much as 12 in the second half. Sacramento made a late push in the fourth quarter, pulling within 2, but Ish Smith would respond with this clutch layup, as the Sixers surprised the Kings for their second win in 3 games, improving what was still the NBA's worst record to 3-31.
They've been playing better. We knew that coming in, and they just out-hustled us, outplayed us.
You, just you, building your app on Base 44.
Just 5 days later, on January 4th, the Sixers hosted the Minnesota Timberwolves. The entire game was a close contest, with 21 lead changes and 12 ties. Early in the third quarter, number 3 pick Jahlil Okafor gets the best of the number 1 overall pick Karl Anthony Towns, but they both didn't play particularly well. The Sixers defense was looking good in this one, with Philly having 5 blocks in the fourth quarter alone. Ish Smith iced the game yet again with a pull-up jumper. He had 21 points and 11 assists, as the Sixers pulled away to another win, and were suddenly a better team since acquiring Smith in late December. Better, but still not great, as they would go on to lose 4 in a row after that. On January 16th, the 4-37 Sixers faced the Portland Trailblazers. Portland looked flat from the opening tip, while Jahlil Okafor did not. Okafor had 17 points in the first quarter alone, which was as many as the entire Portland team scored in the first quarter. The rookie center only missed 1 of his 9 shot attempts in that opening quarter. Lillard and McCollum, the NBA's highest scoring guard combo at the time, shot just 10 of 36 combined. Philly held a massive lead at halftime, and Nicki Minaj sent out a tweet that read, "Philly, let's go." The Sixers led by as many as 32. In their previous game, the Sixers let a 24-point lead slip away in an overtime loss to the Chicago Bulls. But 2 days later, they made sure that didn't happen again, as my Blazers unfortunately fell to the NBA's worst team.
Nothing surprises me in this league.
Oh, that must hurt.
You gotta learn and understand that any team can beat you on any night.
Imagine the Warriors losing to them.
Lost to the New York Knicks. The Sixers traveled to Orlando to take on the Magic. The Magic led 20-10 to start the game, but a lack of intensity on defense proved costly, as the Sixers bench had themselves a night. Jeremy Grant, Hollis Thompson, and Isaiah Cannon combined for 44 points off the bench, as Philly went on to win 96-87. Okafor scored 20 points for the 18th time that season. I must be going crazy, because it's starting to look like they're getting a win every other game. On January 26th, the 76ers visited Phoenix, a team that they had already beat earlier in the season. The Sixers were without their top scorer, Jahlil Okafor, which should have made it a lot easier for the Suns to get revenge, or so they thought. Philly dominated for the most part, as they led for the final 3 quarters. Phoenix went down by 19 in the second half, but even when they managed to cut the deficit down to 7, the Suns couldn't keep the momentum going. Ish Smith led the Sixers with 20 points and 9 assists. Robert Covington added 19 points, as Philadelphia swept the season series against Phoenix.
Damn, they
it
swept
seemed like
them.
they were finally figuring things out.
Getting swept by a team who can only get 10 wins a season.
Of course, every time they started, as Philadelphia swept the season series against Phoenix. It seemed like they were finally figuring things out, having won 3 of their last 5 games. But of course, every time they started trending in the right direction, they would follow it up by losing a handful of games. Now, if you want to count this game against the Warriors as a moral victory, I guess you can. During that 2015-16 regular season, the Sixers and Warriors were on opposite ends of the spectrum. After the first 32 games of the season, the Sixers were 2-30, while the Warriors were 30-2. Philadelphia had the worst offensive rating in the league, while the Warriors had the best. So with that said, few would have expected a decent game between these two clubs, let alone a competitive one that came down to the final shot. Think about it. If the Sixers had won this game, then the Warriors would have more than likely failed to set the single season record for wins. 1 week later, on February 6th, Philadelphia took on the Brooklyn Nets. The Nets had a disastrous first quarter. They turned the ball over 4 times in just the first 3 minutes of the game, and scored just 4 points in the first 5 minutes of the game against one of the league's worst defensive teams, but ended up playing a lot better as the game went on. It went back and forth down the stretch. Robert Covington hit a big 3 with just over a minute left. Then, fittingly, that terrible start by the Nets turned into an even worse finish. They couldn't protect the basketball, turning the ball over multiple times, as the Nets lost to the now 8-win Sixers. Okafor had 22 points in a career-high 17 boards. The Sixers were 51 games into the season at this point and had 8 wins, which meant that they only managed to win 2 more times in their final 31 games. On March 11th, the Brooklyn Nets were in
Oh my gosh, it hurts your eyes to see all these L's. Damn. How is the team? Oh my god.
The Sixers dealing with
Like, I think a G League team would actually do better than this.
injuries, and despite Robert Covington having to be taken off on a stretcher after accidentally getting kicked in the face by teammate Jeremy Grant, it was the same result as last time, with the Sixers hanging on to win, as the Nets became the second team to lose to the Sixers multiple times.
It's a tough loss.
This is
they
a
play
shame.
hard. Give them credit, man. They play hard. I know that the record doesn't show because of the wins and losses, but they play hard from start to finish.
That victory snapped a 13-game losing streak for the Sixers, but would go on to lose another 12 straight games afterwards, before facing the New Orleans Pelicans on April 5th. The Sixers needed just one more win to avoid the worst 82-game record in NBA history, which wasn't a problem, considering that the Pelicans were extremely short-handed. They were missing a ton of scoring without these injured players. Meanwhile, Carl Landry for the Sixers came out and made his first 9 shots for a game-high 22 points, including tying a career high with 2 3-pointers. Philly went up by as many as 20 in the fourth quarter, and was smooth sailing from there on out. Philly's bench had 59 points. With that victory, the Sixers no longer had to worry about tying the worst record in NBA history, set by, well, themselves. The 1972-73 Philadelphia 76ers have the distinction of being the worst team in NBA history, at least in terms of an 82-game season. Technically, the 2012 Charlotte Bobcats are the worst team ever in terms of total wins and winning percentage, but that season was shortened by a lockout, so these 2016 Sixers are only the 3rd worst team of all time. Sam Hinkie's unconventional approach helped put the team in position to draft Ben Simmons later on that summer. Keep in mind, the decision to draft Simmons over Ingram and Markelle Fultz over Tatum had nothing to do with Sam Hinkie. He was no longer the GM at that point. Those weren't his moves. He stepped down from his position just before the end of the 2016 regular season. He was reportedly forced out by the NBA.
And then I
Forced out, bro, what?
My second year, he was basically forced out. Around that time, the league did not like the process because he was a bunch losing. Like, they say it was like tanking, that we're losing on purpose, which in the NBA, like, no one loses on purpose. Like, you're not gonna put NBA players out there and tell them that go lose a basketball game. Like, that pissed me off because I felt like, yeah, sure, there was a lot of losing, which I wasn't part of because that was before I started playing, but I knew that eventually, once I started playing, it was going to change, which it did. So they basically forced him out and I didn't like it.
Say what you want, but the process is credited with helping transform the Sixers into postseason contenders after Hinkie's departure.
The roster he created, I mean, it's not awful. That's a huge improvement there in Philly.
That was crazy, man. 10 wins in the season, bro. Absolutely disgrace. Anyways, you guys let me know down there what you think about this in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.